Alright then guys, welcome back to the Tilly the T4 YouTube channel and welcome to today's video. So, this has been something I've wanted to get sorted on our van for a while now. So we've started going a little bit further afield in the van. We're going up to Scotland, down to Cornwall, planning on doing some bigger trips in the future. Now, cruise control. This is a 19 TD or a 19 ABL. For any of you that mechanically and, well, just knowledgeably in general, don't even know if that's a word, in general know about these vans, there is no ECU. So I know what people will be thinking, oh, you can't fit cruise control, there's no ECU. That is correct, but there is a solution. So on a lot of older cars, obviously it's cable driven on your accelerator. I think a lot of new cars do have like an electrical sort of signal that they send rather than the cable for your accelerator. Obviously it goes to your carb, your diesel pump in this case. So I have gone online and I have managed to find what I think will work for this concept. So I've managed to I've actually imported two of these because I've got a 2005 Honda Civic Type R and I want cruise control on that because we also do a few little journeys in that, so that'd be nice. And I do a lot of motorway mileage in that. I try not to build up the mileage on that, but it's going to happen, so it would be nice just to have the cruise control. But anyway, enough waffling on. This is the cruise control that I ordered. Now, I got this imported from the Netherlands, I want to say. And it was £30. We're going to install this in a way that it is safe enough that if anything does go wrong, we can just sort of cancel it out. Now, this only goes onto your throttle cable, which, again, sounds scary, but if there is ever any problem, you can just dip the clutch. I know the van will rev up, but if there is a problem, you can just dip the clutch. You can kill the engine. And it's got fail safes on it, so when you press the brake pedal, it cancels the cruise control out, so it will basically allow your throttle pedal to come back up. Because all it does is it's like a throttle position hold with a little dial to adjust it. So we're going to unbox this together now. I have already opened the other one and I've got the little bag of bits out because I wanted to get an idea in my head of what we're going to do. But this is how it arrives. I haven't actually opened this one yet, so we'll do that together now, if I don't drop it everywhere. Now, the instructions, of course, aren't in English, but there is a copy online and you can download the full PDF. But it's pretty simple. Once you see how it's set up, I think you'll be fine to do it. Even if you're not mechanically knowledge, now I sort of see myself as a bit of a technician at this point, so I don't really get worried about going in the engine bay and doing stuff. But if you're scared of going in the engine bay, the good part about this is you don't even need to go into your engine bay to do this mod. The only thing I would say is make sure there's no slack in your accelerator cable because that's going to affect things, but it's pretty easy to do that. And if you are unsure, you can always just take your van to a garage, just get them to check that the accelerator cable isn't stretched, and if it is, they can adjust it for you. So in the bag, the bag, you get a little packet of, well, just accessories really, fittings. So you've basically got a sticky pad, and there's some instructions there. And that actually looks like, let me get it out actually. Stop pointing at things and actually get it out. So, yeah, so this is like a template, I think. The box isn't that big. But yeah, there's like some form of template for your mounting holes. We're not going to need that, I don't think, because I think the base plate does come off. Obviously you get the screws to mount it, you get some cable ties and little clips and a little adjuster for the cable there. But this is almost self-adjusting. I can't really explain that until it's all mounted up, but you shouldn't need to adjust the cable, you should just fit it. But if you do need to adjust it, it's there anyway. Sticky pad mount. I don't know if we're going to use that, but I might use it just to keep the pad level, I suppose. And then the main event, which is the cruise control unit. Now, I was thinking for the price that this cost, that £30 is fairly cheap, and it might be very like tacky, and usually when you can tell when stuff is very cheaply made, because these things weigh like next to nothing, but this has actually got some weight behind it. So I'm going to guess that there's like the mechanical gears that are in this are all metal, which is great because obviously it will last longer, as opposed to it having plastic gears. So you've got your on and off switch. I do think I need to pull that out for it to operate, so I might not be able to. Again, I've already had one out of the box just to try it, so yeah. So if I pull the cable, you can click that to on. So that would be your cruise control or your throttle position holder set. This is your red button to cancel it, so you can cancel it with that. But then, so this is the cable that goes obviously towards your throttle cable to hold the position. And then you've got a red and black wire. Now, the red and black wire are for your fail-safe. So the red one is going to go to your non-constant live of your brake lights. So you've got a switch above your brake pedal. Now you've got a live going into the switch, and then you've got the one that when the switch is like depressed, sad switch. When it's depressed, it basically sends a live feed to this. Sorry, as I was saying. So yeah, you have this will be your earth. So you'll just either earth that to the chassis, or if the switch has got an earthing point, which I don't think it does, you would earth that to there. And then that would go to your non-consistent live on your brake switch. For then when you press the brakes, I'm presuming, I haven't tested this yet, but I'm presuming all that happens is that red button will go in when you press the brakes, and it will disconnect it. So if a car pulls out in front of you whilst you're tanking it down the motorway, which you can't do in a T4 anyway because they don't go that quick, you can press the brakes and it will cancel your cruise control. So the first thing I'm going to do is... Alright mate, it's not mine. So, postman. So the first thing I'm going to do is mount up the box. Now this needs to be in a place that's handy, but I also don't want it on display looking out of place, because obviously it is an aftermarket kit. It doesn't look very, what's the word? OEM. So I think I've found the ideal spot. Oh, that is going to work so well. I've just fitted it up for the first time. It does mean I'm going to have to drill some holes into the steering column plastics, which some of you might not want to do, which is fine because there is plenty of other spaces I can see that you could mount this up. It's just not going to look as OEM and legit, whereas where I'm going to put it, it is tucked out the way, and the spot is actually perfect where it's going to go, so I'm quite happy about that. So yeah, I'm going to try and get this mounted up, and then I will clock back in with you guys. My idea is to get this, obviously it's hitting the steering column at the minute, but my idea is to put it in this gap. I think once it's in that gap, it's tucked right up there, which that is probably going to be about perfect, but obviously it's sat in there. And it will just look right, I think. As far as I'm aware, there's no adjustment on this steering column. Maybe there's up and down. No, I don't think there is. So because there's no adjustment, I've not got to worry about exactly the hole being perfect, because obviously when we move this, sorry, I don't need to worry about the hole being big enough for like movement, because you can't move the steering column. So none of this is going to move up and down, meaning that it will sit in there and it will be fixed and it'll be fine. So yeah, I'm going to get that connected up now, and then basically all your wires you're going to want to feed down there towards the pedals, because that's where all of your electronics are. Now, I know that I said that I probably won't use this, but I have figured out that once it's all mounted up, it will show me exactly where the cable is going to go out and where I need to drill the holes, which is perfect. So yeah, quite happy with that actually. Didn't realise I was going to need that until now, but it's a good bit of kit that they put in. I know it's only a piece of paper with some printed diagram on it, but it's good to have. So yeah, now I know I need to drill the hole there. So this does come in useful. Don't throw it away. I've just cut away at the fabric that was tucked in here. Now it was going across like this, so I couldn't see any of this. There's actually a pocket here, which is handy to know. I won't be needing it. I won't be needing it now because obviously the cruise control's going in here. But yeah, I never knew that existed there. But I'm just going to tuck all that felt out the way anyway, and then the cruise control is going to sit around about here. So I'll get the sticker laid out now, and a sticker, piece of paper, diagram thing, and get the cruise control all mounted. Gonna be, oh there you go. I've just made a little mark there where I'm going to cut the hole. There's no wires or anything behind here, like right up close. So just drill a small hole there, enough to fit the cable through and to give yourself a little bit of room. So there you go. I've just drilled the hole now. It was really easy to cut through this stuff actually. Just went straight in with the 10mm because that gives us plenty of room to move around. And now I'm going to try and get the box in here. I know I keep saying I'm going to try and get the box in here, but now I'm going to get the box in here. So I'll come back once it's all mounted. Okay, so I've just opened up the box to get the mounting bracket out, and this is how it looks. Now, I thought we was going to be able to mount this bracket like through here and then it just clips on, but turns out you are supposed to mount it from above. Now I'm not going to be able to do that because that would require me to take the whole dash out, which is fine because we've got the sticky pads and I think they'll be definitely strong enough. But yeah, a bit of a shame really, because I was hoping to be able to screw it just to make it a little bit more sturdy, but at the same time it's not the end of the world. It'll go on, so let's get that mounted. I know I said earlier I think it was metal gears, but it is actually plastic, so I don't know whether to put some grease on here or not, because the thing is, if I put grease on it, it's got a chance of slipping. I don't think it's going to slip, but it will also reduce the wear. But then also saying that, I don't think it's going to wear that much because it's not going to have that much strain on it. So I think I'm just going to leave it, as I don't want to interfere with it, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to get it mounted up now instead. So now, I know that I already said that you won't be able to screw this up from underneath, but I've actually just had a thought. I don't know why I didn't think of this. I'm just going to drill a hole straight through there, put one of the screws through and just screw it up into there. I will then have the sticky back and then just push all this on once it's all in place. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for that. Yeah, because that'll work. Okay, I'm going to do that. Just like that. Sticky pad undone and one self-tapper later and she's in. A little bit further over than I would have liked, but I'm going to cut around this anyway, up here, to make it look a bit neater. But let's now try and mount this box up and see how we get on with that. So the cruise control kit is now mounted up. I'm actually really happy with that position. Obviously it's tucked away to the point where it's like not out of place almost. It almost looks perfectly like where it would be if it came from the factory, which I'm really happy about. And it's a good use of that space really, because it is a bit of just a dead area. There's not really much you can do unless you put some sort of tray here or whatever. So it's a good use for that area. As you can see, it's nice and sturdy, ain't going anywhere, and easy access to that cancel button, which is the main thing. Again, I wanted to make sure that this was easy to access just so that we can get to it. Now, this is what I was saying about the dial that you can turn. You can just turn this little knob here, obviously to increase it and decrease it, which is just cool in itself. And yeah, other than that, there's not really much else to it. The wires are down there now and the cable, so the next thing to do is connect to the cable to the throttle pedal. Other countries, I'm not sure if you've got Halfords, but Halfords is our like quick go-to like parts store. So I went to Halfords and I got some M6 bolts and nuts, and then if you look under here, it might be a bit dark, up there. So this is where the pedal comes in there through the firewall. So as you can see, this is where the point of pivot is. It's very dusty. So that's point of pivot, and you can see there where I've just put a bolt in just to see if it would fit. So I'm now going to put a nut on that to make sure it's nice and tight and isn't going to back off. And then I'm going to connect the cable up here somewhere. I'm actually thinking of cutting this here to bend this round, but that'll be the next step. I'm not quite sure exactly what we're going to do. And then here is that switch as well that we need to wire in. So we need to check which one is constant live and which one is the non-constant live. But as you can see, once you press the pedal in, that switch opens, which will send the feed to the cruise control to disconnect. Now I do apologise if the camera angles get a bit bad from now on, because it is pretty awkward to get in down here. So here is one of the little eyelets that was in the kit. So the idea is your cable passes through here, crimps on back here, and then this basically goes onto where your throttle cable comes through. Obviously ours is on a separate part of the pedal, but this is what I've come up with. So one of those M6 bolts I was telling you about, and it doesn't slide over. I think the idea with this eyelet is to stop it from wearing down the cable, so you've got something to crimp onto and not wear down the cable. So because that doesn't slide over there, that is what I'm going to put on that bit of the pedal. So I'm going to use some Loctite to make sure the nuts don't spin loose, and I'm going to put this on the pedal now. So I'll get to that, I'll get that on, and then I will check back in with you guys, because this is going to be an absolute pain to get on. So wish me luck, I suppose. So this is what we've got. We've got the bracket back here with, if I can get it to spin out, with that little connector on it, obviously attached to the accelerator. And then up here was a handy little two little holes. I don't know if this was for some form of mechanical cruise control at some point. I managed to make up a little hose mount with that, which is another one of those bolts through the hole, and a like metal P-clip around it, around the end of the cable stopper. I was going to cut that and bend it round, but I actually decided to do this because it's very tight and I won't be able to get any form of cutting tool up there unless I got a Dremel cutting bit, which I haven't got on me. So the next thing to do is I'm actually going to bend this bracket round a little bit to put the cable a little bit more in line with the actual throttle cable mount. And then once that's sorted, it's a case of attaching the cable and then adjusting it all. So let's get on with that. Okay, so I have managed to just bend this bracket just a little bit, just to get that a bit more in line with there, because I want the cable running as straight to that as possible. So now it's a case of getting some curves into this cable where it's not going to be affecting the use, but it's nice and tucked away. You don't want any sharp kinks in the cable or anything, but I also don't want to cut it down. So get that all in and then connect it up to there. So we'll get on with that next. So when it's gone a bit dark, actually, I think it's going to rain, but when setting the cruise control, they say to pull the, you can actually hear it, pull the cruise control out to its full length, go back 10 millimeters and switch it to on. So now that's set, so now that cable's not going to move. That will basically give us our adjustment to obviously set our distance. So in the little bag of goodies that you get these crimp on connectors. Now that's fine for when you're doing a loop and you want to crimp them on, but if you ever want to move or readjust the cruise control, you don't have any adjustment after you crimp that on. Now they recommend if you use a little connection block like this, you've got them 2 screws in there, your cable can fit through there, and then you can readjust in the future. Or if you move it to another car, you can then just release them, move it to your next car and adjust it from there. So I'm going to use one of these for hours. Excuse the train horn. I'm going to use this for hours just to make sure that I've still got some adjustment on there if needed. So as you can now see, that is looped around that clip and through both times. So as you go in towards the clip, it's through the cable, and then as it's coming out the clip, also through the cable with the excess coming off. So it's now just a case of making sure there's no slack in that cable, and then we're just going to connect up the connections on there. So yeah, just got to make sure there's no slack now, and then wind down on these cables to get them tight. Okay, so the cruise control is now connected up. Nice loop on that, nothing too major though. As you can see, as the pedal is fully compressed, it is not reaching the cable connector, and if you were to go too far, it's only going to do that anyway. You come off and it loops back. That is now connected up, and I will just go above to show you that working. So, foot on the accelerator, you get to your desired speed, flick that over, take your foot off the accelerator. As you can see, the accelerator pedal stays where it is. Obviously, I still need to connect the wires for the brake light, but you want to cancel that, press that, the pedal comes back up. Go all the way down to the floor, on, and press that, and it comes back up. Just a little bit of throttle over there, stays in that position. Now, the thing is, if you get to the speed you want to, just deconnect that first. You get to the speed you want to, press that down, turn that on. You're going a little bit too fast. To decrease the speed, you do this, and if you look carefully at the pedal, you see how it's moving up off of the floor. So that's how you decrease it. And then to increase it, you can turn it and it will pull the pedal, but I've found it is easier just to do that with the pedal, get to the speed you want, tighten the cable up, come off, and then it's increased your speed. So very smart design, very simple design, but works. So the only thing that's left to do now is connect up the red wire to the brake pedal switch for the lights, and then tidy everything up and go for a test drive. The next step is to find which is your constant live and which is your switch signal on your brake pedal switch. So up here, if I can get it to focus, I've unplugged the plug. It's just hanging down here. I've unplugged this plug off of the brake pedal switch, which is just here, and I'm just going to test these now off camera and see which one is constant live and which is the signal receiving wire. Okay, so on this plug, the black wire is a signal receiving wire and the red one is your constant live. So you're going to want to connect the red that is on your cruise control kit to the black. Sounds strange, but it's the right way around, to the black with the red line. You're going to want to connect that to there, and then your black on your cruise control wire is going to want to go to a suitable earth. So I'm just going to put a ring connector on that and connect that up. So I'll do that off camera now and show you when it's done. I have just connected the wires up for the failsafe on the brake pedal. I've set the cruise control to on, and now it's just a case of pressing this pedal and seeing if it disengages. Perfect. So that's your failsafe. Car pulls out in front of you, or you're coming to a stop at a junction. Obviously you press the brake first, then you dip the clutch. So you press that, disengages the cruise control. Tidy everything up now, get it all up, and then we'll take it for a test drive. Okay, so I am now in a lay-by on the A1, and it is time to test our new cruise control system. So I do apologise about the noise. It is noisy in this cab when we get up to 60, but that's the cruising speed we're going to go for. Obviously that is the maximum we are legally allowed to go on the A1, and it's almost as fast as you can get the T42. That is a joke. We do have the 5th gear mod installed on this, Highly recommend you do that before you do this cruise control mod as well, but you can do it. It's not going to make much of a difference, but I think the combination of the two is what makes this whole setup work really well. So I'm going to wait for a clear spot in the traffic and get moving. Don't really like pulling out in this van because it takes a while. It takes a while to get up there, which it does it. So we're just coming up to 60 now. I'm going to make sure we get leveled off, and I'm going to engage the cruise control. So that is feet off the pedals. Cruise control is now engaged. As you can see, no feet on the pedals. It's sitting nicely 60. Now, with this not being true cruise control, you do sometimes, if you get to a hill, have to put in a little input just to keep it going. But again, when you're on a flat motorway or flat dual carriageway, this would be absolutely perfect. But yeah, I mean, it's now holding its speed nicely. I can sit now at 58 and it won't fluctuate between, it will fluctuate between 58 and 60. It won't go above unless we're going downhill. But even then, it's not giving it enough revs to sort of go that far, if that makes sense. There we go, just disconnecting the cruise controllers, now we're coming off. Okay, so after that test drive of Tilly with her new installed cruise control, as you can see, it works well, as you'd expect for £30 cruise control. Obviously, it's never going to compete with modern cruise control or, you know, the older style cruise controls that had like your speed and they'd adjust to your speed and everything. Obviously, this is just a fixed pedal position system with a fail-safe. Yeah, for £30, this cheap cruise control kit, can't go wrong with it really. So next time someone tells you that you can't install any form of cruise control on a pre-TDI T4, this will work for Audis as well, any of the older Polos that are all throttle cable driven with no ECU. This is what you need to go for. So yeah, next time someone tells you you can't do it, you can do it because it has been done. Unfortunately, I'm not going to leave a link to where I got these, only because I'm not being paid by them, and this is not in any way me promoting their product. That being said, if you can find these, go ahead. Just do your research on mechanical cruise control, and I'm sure the link to these will appear in your browser. I would definitely look into it if you do long journeys in your T4. So all that's left for me to say really is thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Please check out our other social medias. So we're on Instagram. It's at Tilly _the _T4. Check that one out. There's a lot more posted of our adventures on there. We've got other videos. We've done off-roading in Tilly. If you've seen Tilly before, she's got big off-road tyres and she's now set up for off-roading. So go and check that out. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.